Alright, let's dive into something that's both fascinating and deeply concerning: Kinshasa, the capital of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, Kinshasa is growing fast. Like, really fast. We are talking about one of the fastest growing cities in Africa, with projections putting its population at a staggering 26 million by 2030. That's mind-blowing, right? But here's the kicker: this explosive growth isn't making people richer. In fact, it's doing the opposite. And that, my friends, is where things get really interesting. What makes this really interesting is the disconnect between growth and prosperity. You'd think a city expanding at this pace would be a hub of economic opportunity, but Kinshasa's story is far more complex. Personally, I think this challenges the common narrative that urbanization automatically leads to development. It's a wake-up call, reminding us that growth without the right infrastructure, policies, and opportunities can actually deepen inequality. One thing that immediately stands out is the reason people are moving to Kinshasa. According to the World Bank, the majority of migrants aren't coming for jobs. Only 10% cite employment as their reason. Instead, family and education are the biggest drivers. What many people don't realize is that this flips the script on the typical rural-to-urban migration story, where economic opportunities are usually the main pull. In Kinshasa, it's more about social and personal factors, which raises a deeper question: can a city sustain itself if its growth isn't fueled by economic opportunities? From my perspective, this highlights a broader issue: the informal economy. In Kinshasa, a staggering 97.5% of workers are in the informal sector. That's not just a number, it's a reality where millions are scraping by on less than $2.15 a day. What this really suggests is that the city's economy isn't structured to absorb its growing population in meaningful ways. Instead of creating jobs in higher productivity sectors, Kinshasa's growth is being funneled into low-paying, precarious work. A detail I find fascinating is how Kinshasa's economy remains largely local, rather than global. Unlike cities that thrive on international trade and investment, Kinshasa produces only about 60% of internationally tradable goods and services. This matters because cities that are globally integrated tend to have more diverse and resilient economies. Kinshasa's isolation from global markets means its residents are stuck in a cycle of low-income, informal work, with little chance of upward mobility. If you take a step back and think about it, the infrastructure gap is another critical piece of the puzzle. Kinshasa's flood-prone geography, combined with weak urban planning, has led to the rise of precarious neighborhoods, informal settlements that lack basic services. Access to piped water, for example, is lower in Kinshasa than in cities like Nairobi or Addis Ababa. This isn't just about inconvenience, it's about dignity and quality of life. What this really suggests is that Kinshasa's story isn't unique, it's a cautionary tale for other rapidly growing cities in Africa. Population growth alone isn't enough. Without investment in infrastructure, formal employment, and global economic integration, cities risk becoming magnets for poverty rather than engines of prosperity. Personally, I think the most thought-provoking part of this is the question it leaves us with: what does it take for a city to grow in a way that actually improves people's lives? Kinshasa's trajectory forces us to rethink the assumptions we have about urbanization and development. It's not just about numbers, it's about people, policies, and priorities. So, here's my closing thought. As we watch cities like Kinshasa expand at unprecedented rates, let's not just marvel at the scale of growth. Let's ask the hard questions about what kind of growth we're seeing and who it's really benefiting. Because if we don't, we risk repeating the same mistakes, leaving millions trapped in a cycle of poverty amid the chaos of urban expansion. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below.